So just shout out when the stream is going. Clear and loud. Okay.
Welcome everybody to live Q&A. This is Pastor and Recovering Heretic. I am Pastor Dave.
I am Recovering Heretic Dan.
Hi Dan, how are you?
I am great.
What's in store today?
More chaos.
We like chaos.
Action, adventure, excitement, beyond bound. We are going to disrobe you in front of our audience of...
Sounds like a boundaries violation, Dan.
But not the way you think.
Yeah.
And last week we talked about all the accoutrements,
Yeah.
that are used in service. Today we're going to talk about the accoutrements you wear during
I
service.
wear during service.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it occurs to me, and actually it's been like this to me ever since I can remember. Even at like 2 years old, I remember looking at what the priest and the altar boys wore.
Yeah.
And it was like, why do they dress like it's 1000 AD? They all dress, it's like medieval era stuff.
Older actually, but yeah.
Yeah, we've come a long way since then. So first, we'll analyze each piece of it. But overall, why do priests and pastors of like Episcopalian, Lutheran, I don't know what the term is for those denominations that still follow a lot of the old traditions. Why do you dress, like the church has just been founded almost 2,000 years ago? It can't be comfortable.
No, it's very much not. In a certain way, I'm uncomfortable without it. Where to even begin on that one? That's a good question because there's so many places you can go with that one.
Just pick a quick one and let's explore them all.
Right. I guess I would say part of it is about marking who is distinctively leading, right? Like every group has a marker of like how the person who's leading up front, right? And so like, and that, it's funny because like in our world, like this is usually the more important you are, the less you have to dress up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are worth tens of billions of dollars and they wear like t-shirts, but like them wearing Zuckerberg's like he wears like the same t-shirt and the same pants like every day.
Yeah.
Right. And like
I always wonder, being that rich, why can't he do laundry more often?
Why can't he do laundry more often? Why can't he buy a suit? Like Lord knows you could afford one. But that's how he's important up on the stage, right? Is that he dresses down. He dresses down, right? So it's the same thing in church, except we just have fancy, clothing for it, right? So
well, I mean, that's true today. Like today, most of at least the men in the congregation are not going to come wearing a dress.
Right. They're not going to come wearing...
But back in the day when this started,
Yeah.
that would have been more normal, I would assume? Normal attire?
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have, right, like pants are a new invention, right? They had
Yeah.
tunics, not pants, you know, so they wore a tunic, which is a different thing than what I'm wearing, but yeah. They wore a tunic. The other thing is that all these things have meaning,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they have marks and meanings to them. So in some ways it's about making church intentionally weird, you know, like separating out, this isn't just like the local Kiwanis Club meeting, you know, like that's not what we're, like we have our own robes, we have our own language, we have our own, you know, like everything.
Yeah.
You know, and so all of it has to be distinctive in order to like let you know that there is something distinctive going on in this space, right? You know, like if you go back and read the book of Exodus, like God spends like the last half of the book of Exodus going over like everything from the drapes to the priest's clothing, you know,
Yeah.
like, and it's the same thing. It's
Yeah, it's almost like reading, God comes across as an interior decorator.
right. Well, like part interior decorator, part like clothing designer.
Yeah,
Right. You
yeah.
know, and like, and all of that is to let you know you have entered different space for different purpose than, you know, we would call it holy versus vulgar, and not that vulgar is bad, but like,
Vulgar just meaning common life.
yeah, common life, you know, and so that's part of it too, is just to acknowledge that you have entered special place,
Yeah.
right?
And that specialness is, Steve makes the comment,
Mm-hmm.
kind of synopsizing it, clothes make the man.
Yeah, right. You know, clothes make the man, right? You
So
know,
those clothes make the pastor, the
right.
priest.
Well, and you know who it is, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I remember one of my little cousins when he was real young. He saw he was visiting my mom's church, and I was there too. And the bishop was visiting that Sunday, and the bishop had the bishop's staff,
Yeah.
right? The shepherd's crook. And he went to me and he said, and he's from a tradition that doesn't have bishops. And he went, Dave, he must be really important. He has a big stick. You know, but like that's part of it, right? Like that's part of why we have this, you know, the whole get up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's get to that.
Yeah.
First, the bishop's stick. I think the symbolism is pretty clear on that, you know,
yeah,
good
it's-
shepherd.
Right, it's the shepherd's, right. You know, the bishop is the shepherd of the churches, and,
Yeah.
you know.
Now, does
There's-
only the bishop get to carry the crook, or can like a regular, your local parish priest have one as well? And do Lutheran bishops carry it?
It's a symbol of bishop's authority. Lutheran bishops almost always have them. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know the few times that this synod's bishop has been here, she hasn't brought the hook with her. So is it only when you're doing like high office performances?
No, it's kind of like well, each bishop has a different line about when they use it and when they don't, you know,
Okay.
and so it's like what, you know, not every pastor wears what I'm wearing, you know, it's, each person has a different line about what they wear and what
Yeah.
they don't, so.
All right, so getting to what you're wearing, let's go ahead and stand so everybody can see the full. I feel like you should be walking down the runway.
Ta-da.
You know, give a little bit of this.
Right, ta-da.
Okay, the first thing is you're not wearing the scarfy thing. Usually, a lot of times you have a scarfy thing on.
The scarfy thing.
Yeah, it's like this long, narrow strip.
Stole, okay, the stole. Yeah,
Oh,
so-
like a mink stole.
Right. Yes, it's a stole. Okay, so there's two different garments pastors wear. The stole is the standard mark of you're ordained. It symbolizes, it's supposed to symbolize the yoke that, you know, Jesus says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light, right? It's the yoke Jesus places on you as a leader of the community.
Okay.
Right.
So
know.
you're officially yoked when
I'm
you've got that
officially
on.
yoked, right? And that's how you know I'm yoked is because I'm wearing literally a yoke, right? You know, right? And that's how it looks on like an oxen and stuff like that too,
Okay.
you know. So I can wear that at any service, right?
Okay.
Communion or not communion, that's always an option, all right? I wear it at the moment, I wear it during Lent. I wear it during Lent because I don't have a purple chasuble, which is what this is.
Okay.
So that's why I wear it during Lent, is because I don't have a purple one.
Now, should we talk to the council president about getting you appropriate
You know,
attire?
it's fine. I mean,
I didn't know we
it's
needed a
gradual-
fashion budget.
It works in Lent. It lends a more somber, toned down time anyway,
Okay.
you know, and so it works. It's fine. It's not a huge deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there
So-
any other, like I notice a lot of times, are there requirements as to the fashion within each garment? Like, for example, with the yoke, the stole,
There's different.
there's often a symbol here and a symbol here at the bottom of each end
Yeah.
of it.
Well, they're always decorated to the season, right? And they're colored to the season. So, you know, I actually have sets of purple, white, blue, red, green for stoles.
Okay.
You know, it's all in my office back there. And I'll use them if like I'm at a funeral, you'll see me often wearing them at a funeral if I don't have communion at the funeral.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what it's. So yeah. So and yes, they're usually decorated with symbols on them. They're meant to match the liturgical year that you're in.
So there is reason to the madness.
Yes.
All right. So now let's move on to the poncho.
Okay. This is it is I mean that's effectively what it is. It's hot underneath there.
Yeah. These all seem very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So.
My previous church didn't have air conditioning. Imagine that.
Man.
So this is what we call a chasuble. The word comes from the Latin word casa, which means casa, I think, which means little house.
Yeah.
So
you're wearing a house.
Right, it's a little house. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's a little house with a hole at the top for my head.
So since we're in the Midwest, this is your little house on the prairie.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It comes from a fairly common Roman piece of clothing they would wear over their tunic as they were traveling. It was a traveling garment, just like a poncho is today.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about, well, how does that connect to church wear? Got to remember early Christian missionaries were always on the move, right? Think Paul. So they would wear this little, church tradition is always eminently practical, so they would wear this little poncho thing as they were walking about.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So now what it symbolizes is this means I'm the one presiding at communion. So so when the bishop was here, for example, I did communion, she preached. She wore her stole because she's ordained, but I wore this because I'm the one presiding. I'm the one doing, it's called presiding at communion. I'm the one doing communion.
Okay.
So.
Now when you're presiding, it's not just passing it out. That also means you're the one doing the blessing.
I'm the one who's doing the words of institution.
Okay.
So that's what this, which is why I wear one of these, except during Lent, because I don't have one. Which is why I wear this almost every Sunday, because almost every Sunday I am presiding. This is, if we had two pastors here, I would not wear it every Sunday.
Because you'd alternate with whoever.
We'd alternate with whoever.
Okay.
Right.
Now symbolism, I get the crosses. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. This particular one, we've got the cross, but then we've got wheat, it looks like, and then the grapevine. And I note that the grapes have their own color. They're in purple.
They are in purple. Well, that's because grapes are purple.
Wheat isn't gold.
I know. So that's communion imagery, right? So green is the color for ordinary time. As a friend of mine says about this chasuble that I own, it screams ordinary time. And what he means by that is like the marks of ordinary time are kind of the things we do every Sunday, right? Communion, the cross, that kind of, right? That is the season we are in. And so the stuff on it is...
I want to hold it up a little higher because I don't know if the camera was able to see, but that way folks can see the nice purple grapes.
Yes.
And I got to say, whatever vintage of wine has been served the last few weeks, spectacular.
I have.
It was a very good year, whatever year it was.
It was a very good trip to the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's probably like boxed wine. But,
right. It's in a bottle.
Oh, it is in a bottle. Okay, we have confirmation it's in the bottle. So again, mwah.
Yeah. There we go.
How long do you let it breathe before you serve it?
Weeks.
But so the grain for the host.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So that's a chasuble I have.
Are there stores that sell those?
They are incredibly expensive usually, which is why I don't have a purple one, is because they're actually not that much, but over 500 sometimes, so
wow.
There's only like 2 church supply companies. So it has all the downsides of a monopoly, right? They can kind of charge. So all of this stuff is actually pretty expensive and it's a pain in the butt. to get.
Okay.
You know,
So with that expense,
we call it the church industrial complex, like the military industrial complex.
so it's a little right now too expensive to be a plausible chasuble for us.
Yes, yes.
Got it.
So,
And then Renee made the comment just now too, that maybe they're so expensive because of all the decor on them.
yeah, so this one has a lot of, no, they don't all have this much stitching. I get this from a particular, it's actually an Indian company that is, so they like to do this kind of gold threading in here. I thought it just looked cool, you know. There are more plain and less plain ones, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are literally just, you know,
It's just a poncho,
It's a poncho. It kind of just depends.
Now,
you
is
know.
it like not one size fits all? I don't mean it in that way, but as far as
There are,
like that house, the place you buy it from, is there any difference between this one that you're wearing as a Lutheran pastor at the local parish, Roman Catholic parish, at the Greek Orthodox church, at the High Episcopal? Can you all order from the same place because it can all look the same?
it's a Catholic company that I get this from. So these are Catholic garments, actually.
Okay.
The Orthodox garments are different, and I have no idea what they are. So you'll just
So I can't follow that line of
you
questioning.
just gotta bear with me that they're different.
Okay.
The Catholic garments, they are vaguely similar often, but the more traditional you get, the more different cuts, like of the cloth and stuff like that,
Okay.
you know, and they'll look different, you know. And that's a feature and even with these, there's different cuts of these chasubles. You know, there's ones that this one comes down kind of past my knees,
Okay.
you know, but there are ones that go all the way down to your ankles. You know, there's different they have all sorts of different cuts in the cloth, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. So many fashion options that you can choose
Yes,
from.
and that's, somebody would tell you that there's tradition behind all that. I kind of just go by, do I like the look of that or not, you know?
Okay.
And you kind of want them to match, you know, so I don't want one ankle length one and two
Midriff.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I want kind of different things.
Okay.
Right.
Now we get to the robe.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, Greek symbol. Question about the Greek symbols.
So one is a cross. Most of it's a cross. This symbol on here is what we call the chi rho. So in Greek, the first two letters of Jesus' name are chi, that's the X, and the P is actually an R in Greek. So it's the first two letters of Jesus' name. This is the symbol Constantine saw
Oh, in the heavens?
in the heavens when he said, "In this sign you will conquer." It was the chi rho. You will find it started off as a symbol for like. Actually, you'll find it in ancient manuscripts. They'll mark little pieces of text that they like
With a chi rho.
With a chi rho, you know, and so even before Christians adopted it, it kind of had this, I like this vague meaning to it, you know,
Yeah.
and then it gets adopted by the church after Constantine. So then there's a cross on the back. So, yeah.
Actually, turn it this way for the cross on the back. There you go.
Or the back or the front. I like this because I can wear it either way. It's reversible.
Coming or going, you can
Yes.
send your message.
Right.
All right, so now we're at the part where it looks like you just stepped out of the shower. Because you've got a nice white
Yeah.
bathrobe on.
Yeah.
And I've got to ask,
I had a kid at
because
my-
you're unroping it, is that just a belt, or is there a special name for the belt
There
rope?
is a special name, although it really just means a belt.
Okay.
It's formally called a cincture. And a cincture, it's a belt with knotted tassels at the end. It's a piece of rope with a knotted tassels at the end. That's all it is.
Okay,
So,
so fancy named belt rope.
belt rope.
Okay,
It helps to keep it from like you getting tripped up.
Okay.
On your thing here. And if you're wondering how to tie this thing, this is a basic slip knot. For all you young acolytes out there. There.
All right. We'll keep it nice and taut.
Yes.
Okay.
This is what we call an alb in Lutheran talk.
And in Latin, it means robe, right?
Yeah, it means robe, right. You'll hear it sometimes referred to as a cassock alb. And what they mean by that is it's the whole thing in one. A cassock is the black flowing garment that you will see some priests and Episcopalians wear.
Yeah.
Right? It's got lots of buttons. That's a cassock, and then the thing that goes over that is called a surplice. And this is called a cassock alb because it's kind of all in one.
Okay.
Right? It's not two pieces of garment. I don't have 30 buttons, So sometimes you'll hear it called a cassock alb. In Lutheran tradition, it symbolizes your baptism, right? So it's the white robe that you're robed in at your baptisms. That's what it symbolizes.
Okay. And what about other, like Catholic tradition?
That would be a similar thing,
Okay.
So we just emphasize it more. So it's got buttons here. It's got a knot here. This one, I have another one that has Velcro. Just kind of depends on the
okay.
make and mode.
So it is okay to have a little modern tech mixed in.
Yeah, right. Sometimes it is. Right. There it is.
All right. Now, why is that worn by so many? Like, altar boys wear that. Angels are always pictured with those.
I know, right? Well, again, it's the mark of, there are more leaders than just me up there, right? There's at least another leader often, and that's the assisting minister. The acolyte is a leader also. I know acolytes don't typically think of themselves that way, but they are. They're leading worship. It's the mark of, are you leading in worship? It's kind of the mark of what it means.
Now, I notice in this church, the assisting minister does not wear one.
We got away from it because of pandemic.
Okay, so pre-pandemic,
Pre-pandemic, they wore it all the time. We just got away from it because of pandemic.
Because, there was only one that was shared, so you didn't want to get the
We
germ.
have a set of them in the office, and we
Okay.
didn't want to have to dry clean them.
Every week.
This was a rule that was instituted early in the pandemic when we didn't know how it was spreading, right? So it was either people wear these, and we dry clean them every week, or we don't.
Okay.
And I decided it was simpler that we didn't. And all of this is there's a very important Lutheran phrase you need to memorize, ideophora, which in Greek means indifferent things.
Okay.
And all of this is what we call indifferent things. And what I mean by that is, it may be good to do, but you don't have to do it. And anybody
So
telling
it
you,
doesn't really matter.
well, it does. Again, I think it's good. I think it's good symbology. I think it's good to make church look weird. I think all those things are good, but you don't have to do it. And many things in Lutheranism exist in that ideophora category of
Okay.
it's good to do, but it's not what makes worship worship. What makes worship for Lutherans is the proclamation of the gospel and the administration of the sacraments. That's true worship. And everything else is kind of ideophora, and so that means you can be, except in special circumstances, it doesn't have to be done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I want to pause a moment because it occurs to me.
Yeah, look at what
Yeah, I want to
questions-
make sure there aren't other questions. We've gotten lots of live questions, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't check online.
Yeah.
Nothing online, so we're
Okay.
good to go. So now we get to, and you've already undone it, but the infamous clerical
the
collar.
infamous clerical, right. It comes out a lot of different places. Judges, lawyers, people who could read in the Middle Ages wore a black cloth with a little fluffy white collar. Judges in England still wear this, actually,
Yeah.
right?
And their wigs.
Right, and their wigs, right, but they still wear this kind of fluffy. So So in a certain respect, it comes from that.
Okay.
You know, it didn't get. Priests would sometimes wear a white band in the Roman Empire with a dark cloth draped over their tunic. You know, that was connected to a tight white band around their neck with a white cloth.
Now, what did that symbolize?
It was just the mark of you're a priest. You know.
Okay, there was no...
Yeah, and that's what it means. It's the uniform, right?
Yeah.
You know, so cops have uniforms, policemen have uniforms.
So priests had uniforms, and that carries over.
Right, and so pastors to this day still have uniforms. It's an easy way for everybody to look at me and go, what is that guy doing here? He's a priest.
Yeah.
You know, it's really helpful in hospitals, right? You know, opens doors literally.
Gotcha.
You know.
Yeah.
I wear it near constantly just because I kind of had it beaten into my supervisor, and since I'm colorblind, I don't want to have to make color decisions.
Right.
And just black, okay.
Black I can tell.
Black I can do, you know. So that's why I wear it. It's helpful, you know. So, and this is what we call a tabbed collar, because it's just a piece of plastic.
Now, what was it before? Was it like an actual, like you talked about the original, would it have been like a choker that went around the collar?
Yeah, so it's called the Roman collar. There's a full white plastic band that goes all the way around your neck. Some people wear them. It's more formal. It's more dressy. I don't have one because I find it annoying. You know, that's really...
Yeah, I'd feel like I was choking if I...
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I joke around that I went into pastoring, so I never have to wear a tie. You know, and so I prefer this to ties. You know, but the full collar is just not something I wear very often. You know,
Yeah.
Some of my colleagues wear them all the time, though. So you know,
Okay.
yeah.
And now the big question then, black. Why the black? Unless all the early church fathers were colorblind.
Right.
So.
I don't actually know why black. It's just kind of the traditional color for it. You know, some people don't do black. There are red and blue and white and all sorts. Any color you've got, you can have that for a clerical collar.
Yeah.
The traditional color is black. You know, so
there's no theological reason, no requirement?
I don't think so. Somebody might correct me on the internet, you know, but, you know, I don't think there's a huge, other than priests from England have been doing it for centuries. So
it's just...
You know, right. Again, it's meant to, you got to think back to that cassock thing, right?
Yeah.
That black flowing, right, that's also black, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's meant to kind of emulate that garment in a simpler way.
Well, yesterday, Renee saw someone in downtown Columbus, a priest, wearing a cassock that was brown.
Yeah.
It was black too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So the cassock is supposed to be a I'm ordained walking about in public
Okay.
garment, you know, and so yeah, you'll find very traditional Episcopalians, Catholics wearing it, you know.
I guess he was having ice cream with a couple of women.
Yeah. Right.
Which,
So.
that would have stained horribly, I think. But, yeah, and she also mentioned he had that like Father Brown type of hat, you know, wide brim with a little bowler.
So there are all sorts of hats that you could wear. So something called there are also capes I could wear.
You could be a caped crusader,
Yes.
and you don't wear that?
I know. I don't. It's hot enough. But yeah, there are capes and there are hats and there's the full 9 yards.
Oh, wow. And so I assume the various capes and hats, again, don't really matter. It's just a question of whether you want to wear them.
Again, they have their meaning. I'm not sure what they are because I don't wear them, you know, and I'm not very invested in them.
Yeah.
Getting back to that ideophora thing, you know, you should have my friend Russ on. He would know more about this than I would. Yes.
All right.
So.
Well, and we're out of time.
All right.
So we'll wrap up there. But thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for the
That's what I'm wearing up there.
revelatory nature of today's program.
Yep. That's what it's about.
Cool. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
No, the week after. 'cause you
Week
won't be here.
after, because I'm gone next week.